saw the FT ran a piece this week back to SpaceX, which is basically saying that Europe has already ceded space sovereignty to SpaceX, and we just haven't really noticed yet. So for some context, Starlink has roughly 7,000 satellites in LEO orbit. Eutelsat, the consolidated European answer, has around 600. Starlink already supplies critical European military comms, commercial broadband, and increasingly government operations. Italy is in talk for a 1.5 billion euro Starlink deal. Ukraine's battlefield, as we know, has already got its communications running through it. So when Ariane 6 was late last year, it was SpaceX's Falcon 9 that put European Galileo navigation satellites into orbit. So there's a lot of connective tissue here. Iris 2, the EU's 10.6 billion euro sovereign answer, doesn't launch until 29 at the earliest, with any kind of full operational capacity expected for another 5 years. So 20, 30, 31, something like that. We've got this big window where effectively SpaceX is our sovereign solution. A small glimmer of good stuff in Europe. So yesterday, as in Thursday the 23rd, French startup Univity raised 27 million. I know that's peanuts, backed by BPI France and France 2030 to build some sovereign space connectivity for European telecom operators. Are we giving up on space, Mads? Are we quietly building a different model? What's your thoughts on space?
I don't think we're giving up on space. I actually think Iris 2 is the right concept. I think it's probably the wrong scale, and the procurement is most certainly wrong, because we have this notion of allocating and procurement of allocating things and parceling it out to different countries, almost sort of pork barrel basis, instead of just trying to find the best supplier for things. And that is really holding us back. There's nothing new there. We discussed it for a long time. I think Draghi, he was pointing it out as well. We can't compete if everything is tied into you must spend and procure this much in each member state or in each geography. So it has to be done on a more commercial basis. If you sort of take a first principle approach, you have to scrap the geographical return. And I think that's probably the single biggest obstacle today. And then I think you can really try and push competition in every layer, around launch, about manufacturing, around components, around ground control. And you could probably learn something from the Chinese EV model, right? Which was when China was trying to get into EVs, you really let 1,000 flowers bloom. Lots of companies were pushed to compete with each other, and then the best ones emerged. And so, I think
also with an incredible amount of government support, right? I mean, BYD is effectively a government operation if you look behind the scenes. So there's still a lot of government support.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's 10 billion euros behind Iris 2, which is not nothing. And how big does the number have to be? I mean, 20 billion, 30 billion?
It depends what the outcome is. It depends what we're trying to achieve here. I mean, at what point do we, I don't know, have sovereign capacity, I think is the answer or the outcome.
I think Iris 2 is not a bad idea. I think it looks like architecturally it's correct. You've got a mixture of higher low Earth orbit and low Earth orbit to give kind of proximity, and then you have some middle Earth orbit to sort of act as the backhaul. So kind of multi-orbit design, which I think is probably right for Europe. Now, 290 satellites is not enough for serious service quality. So you need to up the size. And look, there's money behind it, but I think because you're trying to force this geographical return and try to parcel things out on a political basis, that's really what's hampering you. So I think if you inject more competition into the program, it's probably that more than more money.
Well, this is the same as we were talking about before, Mads. This is the same of setting the framework and then letting the markets do what markets do best, depending on the whatever the application that's required. So I think this is a very sensible approach if it comes off.
Yeah, agreed.